Hello, I am Arez. This is War on Maps. This is Everyone at War Part 4. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, yeah, let's just do a recap of all the wars that are happening. And they are completely two different, separate wars. One is Russia versus all these European countries, Turkey and Azerbaijan, Georgia. Iran is basically Iran is fighting against Turkey, Azerbaijan, Georgia, also the Middle East itself. In this area of the map is at its own war, which means Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh are going against the other countries that are highlighted that I didn't say. So let's jump right into the non-European war. So, and I'm actually really sorry about the background noise. I don't know what that is. All right, so let's jump right into it. So first, South Korean and Japanese troops push into North Korea and manage to take its capital. And I really don't know how to say it. If one of you could say it in comments and teach me how to say it, please do. So yeah, North Korea has been capitulated, and India made a push toward Hyderabad. I don't know how to say that, and managed to encircle the city and then push in and that's and and India didn't want to stop there, even though Pakistan wanted to end the war because they wanted to get their Kashmir claim, which they did so successfully, and also got their Kashmir claim inside of China. And troops that were positioned in North Korea are now ordered to push more into China and Manchuria. So yeah, they do that. But at the same time, China makes a landing on the eastern part of Taiwan. And this causes somebody to be a little scared because they don't produce enough semiconductors, so they join the war. And I'm just going to fix that Alaska problem. Yeah, so after the United States of North America joined, China's in big trouble. But because North America is very far away from Taiwan, they are able to take more land and nearly capture Taipei. But now Japan is sending troops to Taiwan, and so are the Philippines, to make sure Taiwan doesn't fall so quickly. And then together, they managed to make a naval land and encircle like a few thousand troops. And then they surrendered. But then China sends more people over, and they take Taipei and push the Allies completely out of Taiwan. But it isn't good news for China elsewhere, as troops already positioned in Myanmar are pushing in, and it looks like China may be succeeding on one front, but it's definitely not succeeding on this one. So, after getting pushed back some time because they didn't pile troops over on that border, they started piling troops, and after a little bit more pushing around, they are stuck in a stalemate. And elsewhere, and that elsewhere is here, the US has come, and the Pacific Fleet has managed to take control of this bay near Beijing. making it easy to supply a naval landing near the city, and also link it up with the front in Manchuria. And they are nearly at Beijing. Beijing is in sight, but the Chinese started piling troops on this border now, and it also there. But now with America in the war and finally arriving, there's a ton of U.S. troops landing and taking Taiwan, and then they land and take Hong Kong and Maku. Then those two naval landings link up and eventually start sweeping around the coast. And in the total disaster for China, troops from Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan are working together and making a naval landing and capturing Shanghai and some other smaller cities around it, which then links up with the smaller naval landings. And eventually there's another naval landing on this coast just to distract China. And China is not looking too good. But then they start conscripting and it all becomes a stalemate except for down here. And on this island where the blue team succeeds. And that's going to be the Chinese portion of the war for now, unless I feel like adding more. And now we go back to Russia. And if you are confused that this is not Russia, this is Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, then you really need to watch my other videos. But either way, there's going to be the blue team is able to take the Crimean Peninsula, and not that they already haven't, they are now blockading Russia's one water ports. And that's total disaster because Murmansk is cut off. St. Petersburg is also blockaded. And the Pacific isn't looking way too good, because these guys don't approve of Russia's war, but they really can't join. So they block trade with Russia. So Russia is in a total economic problem. And in other disasters, St. Petersburg is now sieged. And that is really bad for the Russians, because that's their second most populated city after Moscow, which is like here. And it's over there because there's also Belarus and Ukraine here. So Moscow is a safe distance from the fighting, but not for a long time, because now Turkey has managed to push Russia out of Azerbaijan and nearly completely out of Georgia, and then began an advance that looks towards encircling this pocket of troops, then blockading them, and then making them surrender. So these troops have to retreat, and Georgia has been completely liberated. And now Azerbaijani and Georgian troops are now working together with the Turkish troops to push up the Caucasus Mountains and eventually push through them. And now Russia has to start sending more troops there. And that's still kind of bad for Russia, because now they are trying to very well do exactly what Germany did to the Soviet Union during World War II. And that is just smash troops inside and then encircle them and then begin encircling and then pull it off and then continuously do that. And that happened a lot of times, but only two major ones that happened in Belarus and Ukraine so far. But there is a smaller one that happened in the Caucasus region. But eventually, the smaller one of these surrenders. And the larger one takes some time, but eventually they'll surrender. And St. Petersburg is really looking bad, especially when the Kola Peninsula finally falls and the Kola Peninsula region is also taken over. And St. Petersburg is very well not getting supplied. And also, St. Petersburg eventually has been captured. And over here, there's a smaller encirclement that happened, and then more small ones, until eventually Russia is looking like it did during the Soviet Union. And that's even worse because now they're trying to cut off the rest of the armies in the Caucasus region and then invade them. So Russia orders a withdrawal of those troops and eventually starts conscripting from Moscow, which is now not a safe distance from the fighting it was, but it's not anymore. So Russia is getting pushed back there a lot and made the smart decision, like every other country would, to just consolidate all their forces inside Russia. And I'm sorry for in the first part of this series when I said isolate, that wasn't the right word, it's consolidate. So now Russia is getting pushed back even more, and eventually Moscow is in sight. It's on the brink of capture. So Russia moves its capital to a smaller town in a very safe distance from the fighting and gets some allies to join in on this. And those are Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, and also Mongolia. But that isn't really enough, especially to prove that they are in an alliance. The British showed up and joined alongside the French, and after recovering from their economic downturn and gaining supplies from the US, Germany also rejoined. At least they have Serbska that joins in to help their Russian ally. But yeah, that's not going to offer a lot, especially when there's a ton of countries around them that hate them but don't feel like going into war. And ever since the beginning of this war, this small part of the Ukraine has been holding on but has been very slowly getting pushed back very slowly until eventually it was captured. And now Serbska is gone. And I know it's Serbia, but some native people from there call it Srpska, so I'm just going to call it Srpska to make them happy. Hey, what's that? But Russia does get a major European power to join in on their side because they want to regain Sardinia from the French. And those are the Italians, and that's going to be a big distraction for Germany and France. But the UK is still supplying this area. And also they also got Greece to join in because they don't really like Turkey. So yeah, they're joining in on this. And that's a bit of trouble for Turkey, as now it has to fight a war on 3 fronts. If you haven't noticed, it has to fight up there, down here in Iran, and now in Greece. And that's annoying it. But because Turkey is a European power, it easily pushes through there, makes the landing on Crete, splits the island in half, makes a landing down here near Athens, then makes more landings around the coast, makes another landing, and eventually Crete falls, and with that all of Greece. But because Greece did bring up a really good distraction, Iran was able to push into Turkey on the eastern side and also capture the enclave of Azerbaijan and start pushing into Azerbaijan. But that's as far as they got. But Russia had a bit more luck because they pushed down here like this. And I think somebody's coming, so I will be back in a second. Yeah, sorry about that. My mom was just coming, but now we can jump right back into it. Eventually, Russia manages to just barely cut off these armies, the Turkish armies here, from this front, but then they recapture it and push Russia just where it was, and also make a small advance into Kazakhstan. But either way, Moscow is on the brink of capture, and the morale in the Russian army is really low. But now, down in Italy, Italy is having some success, capturing Sardinia and Corsica, which, if you didn't know, was where Napoleon I was born, and also made a small push towards Vienna. But then the French showed up and pushed Italy back. And the Swiss decided to join this, even though that would never happen in real life. But they wanted to get some land out of this and managed to encircle some armies, which eventually surrendered. France made a landing on Corsica and then Sardinia, then Sicily, and then Italy decided to surrender, because that's the smart decision. And the peace treaty gives France Sicily. So now they are really losing a lot of land. And for joining this war, just for joining, Switzerland gets something out of it. Because Switzerland is Switzerland, and they just joined the war without being forced into. And that's pretty legendary for Switzerland. So I really think they deserve a bit of land out of Italy, and now Switzerland is a lot bigger. And now they're neutral again. And yeah, so Italy just lost a ton of land for trying to help this guy. So yeah, makes sense. They lost all that land. Oh, and I forgot. I need to make Greece now neutral. And yeah. All right, so let's get back to the Russian war. Turkey manages to push Iran out and push slightly into the country, also pushing it out of the exclave of Azerbaijan, but did not manage to push them all the way out of Azerbaijan. But there is a fear of being encircled, but Iran decides to hold on. And that was a really bad move because that's a lot of soldiers in there. There's like 1 million soldiers in there, which eventually have to surrender. But now, using the Caspian Sea as a setting ground, the Allies make tons and tons of landings along Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and also make some landings around Iran. And Tehran is a near sighting place. But now Israel is sending a lot more troops, So are Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE. I do not know what is going. I do not know what's happening to me right now. But yeah, now they're making naval landings along the Persian coast, capturing the oil because they love more oil, and then make a spearhead towards Tehran. Then this guys do it and capture Tehran, and cut out Iran from this part of Iran from well the Axis powers. That's what I'm gonna call them actually. And this is literally like the entire Iranian military who eventually has to surrender. And with that, Iran does too. And now Russia and China decide to make an alliance because, well, they're both getting completely steamrolled. So decided to at least help each other slow down that. So now troops positioned in Iran are now pushing into Pakistan, and India does the same, and eventually Pakistan surrenders. And that's followed by Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan. And then eventually this small gap is done, and China has another front to worry about. Not that it's a very important one because there's kind of nobody lives there. And yeah, China and Russia both look on the brink of collapse. I mean, look at them and look at who's fighting against them. But yeah, so yeah, that's gonna be it for the major wars. But now Brazil. Yeah, Brazil is now gonna invade Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina at the same time. This causes Peru and Colombia to join the war. Then Venezuela joins the war because they hate all of South America. And then Guyana joins the war. Guyana and then Suriname. And let's pretend French Guiana gains its independence and it decides to join in on this too. Then Bolivia, and that rolls into Bolivia and Chile joining. And that rolls into West African, some countries in West Africa to join. And there's another major global conflict. And I actually don't know why these countries have joined. So let's get rid of them. So yeah, there is definitely naval superiority inside the blue team's hands because, you know, it's like all of South America versus Brazil and Venezuela. And I actually don't know why they're fighting together. Let's pretend they aren't. And Venezuela decides to sit out. And yeah, so now Brazil is getting pushed back in the north because there's all the soldiers are heading there, and also getting pushed back in the south, which is more important, and also getting pushed back in the west. And then using tactics, and then South America using tactics they learned from this war in a complete disaster to Brazil. There is a huge encirclement of Brazilian troops in the north, and then eventually they all have to surrender. And now they also have these guys. The blue team has the support of the U.S., even though the U.S. is busy elsewhere. They have the support of the U.S. And using that, they managed to encircle a pocket of Brazilian troops and then do it again to the south, also capturing major cities. And they are also very well blockading Brazil to starve its economy. And yeah, so Brazil just surrenders. But because all these guys' troops are in Brazil, Venezuela decides to declare war on just Colombia. So it declares war on just Colombia just to make sure it's safer. And yeah, and then that backfires when Guyana joins the war because they have a big border dispute with Venezuela. And America joining the war because they want oil. So now they're pushing around, pushing. America makes a landing, and then pushing, and then push back, pushing, and surrenders. And yeah, and that is now fully annexed by the US. So yeah, now I think that'd be the end of this video. Maybe if you want me to do more stuff, maybe if you guys, maybe I'll make a live stream next time if I do it. But no, so don't forget, this is War on Maps. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Also don't forget to share. That really helps my channel out. So yeah, and I'm sorry for not posting a video yesterday. I was in the car most of the time. I was driving to Mammoth, so don't get mad at me. But still, either way, so like and subscribe, and I will see you in part 5 or any other video.